is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
All right, everybody, the wait is just about over. Round 2 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs are here, and the battle for the Canadian division begins tonight at Bell MTS Place with the Montreal Canadiens visiting the Winnipeg Jets. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. I'm your host, Andrew Paterson, along with the CTO, Michael Remis, back at the Winnipeg Sports Talk Command Center. And needless to say, we've got lots to get to today, folks. Game 1 tonight. Jets, Habs. Scott Billeck will join us a little later on. Get the latest from the Winnipeg Jets heading into tonight's Game 1. And coming up in about 15, 20 minutes, former Montreal Canadien and great friend of the program, Dale Weise, going to join us to talk about how the Habs did it and what he expects to see coming up in this 7-game series beginning tonight at Bell MTS Place. As always, we are brought to you by our wonderful family of sponsors, Not Autocorp, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, the Nick and Nicky TQ Group, Little Brown Jug Brewing, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend, Coolbet, Aikens Lake, and our newest sponsor, PolicyMe.com. Let's get right to it and welcome in Michael Remis. Remo, the wait is just about over, and you can just feel the buzz in the city, albeit there will be no fans as per se, average fans. There will be 500 fully vaccinated healthcare workers in the building, which is a great bit of news, I think. Anyone that's complaining about that seriously needs to pick their battles a little bit better. But bottom line is we've got a lot of anticipation and a strange amount because we went 9 days between games, but it was only less than 48 hours ago that we knew that the Montreal Canadiens would be the opponent for the Winnipeg Jets tonight.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a game. We've been waiting for it. Finally, it's here. 9 days without a game. It's been nice that they're allowing 500 healthcare workers. I'm kind of curious what that's going to be. I was texting with some friends who entered the lottery. I know one of them didn't get in, but I guess I'm assuming they're going to do it again for Game 2. So it'll be cool to have some fans. We'll see what kind of noise they can make. Are they going to be dressed up? We haven't seen fans here in Winnipeg for over a year at the Bell MTS Place. It's insane. Event that is usually like one of the busiest arenas in North America. Been dormant, but that's what it is, and we're looking forward to that. But also looking forward to Game 1 tonight. We're going to have the rested Winnipeg Jets against Montreal, who just came off a 7-game series, and they're going to be having a very heavy schedule as we get into Game 4. A lot of talk about the goaltending today, Price versus Hellebuck, and as well a couple former Jets in Ben Sherratt and Yoel Armia on Montreal.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting stories between the clubs. And, the one thing I don't think we'll bother spending too much time on is talking about the regular season series. I think as we found out in the first round, a lot of that is ancient history. The Jets did have, some good wins against Montreal. They also had some really ugly losses. Thinking about that 7-1 game earlier in the year, and then the loss in the last week in the season where they had the 2 goals from Trevor Lewis, were up 3-1 and ended up losing. That was sort of the end of that really bad stretch for the Winnipeg Jets, and afterwards really turned it around. It's a fascinating matchup though, Reem, and I have to say, it really hasn't been until this morning digging into some of the stories around the series, going over Habs lines, that I've really come to terms with the fact that this series is going to be Winnipeg and Montreal. The way that series turned around and the stunning nature of the Leafs' demise yesterday. I've spent most of the time yesterday, to be honest, thinking about that series and how, what the hell happened to the Toronto Maple Leafs. But as we said yesterday on the program, we have now buried the Leafs. The Leafs, for their part, are getting buried today in Toronto in their end-of-season meetings after blowing the 3-1 lead to the Montreal Canadiens. And we've got a really unique situation going into at least tonight's Game 1, Reem, in that the Habs are coming off an incredible comeback, an emotional, hard 7-game series, while the Winnipeg Jets challenge is not anything to do with rest. It's being able to ramp up and get back to where they were in that series against Edmonton with such a long break off, longer than any point they've had really this season.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're going to have to wait and see if the Jets can match their intensity level that they had off the bat against Edmonton. I'm not sure if they're able to get there right away, but you have to think so. And I was looking at Dom's model, and he had this as the closest series. I think it was like a coin flip. So that's how close these two teams are, at least according to him, and that's someone whose projections I have the most respect for. So you look at that, but I think the difference, and Mike said this yesterday, as we get to Game 4, the Canadiens will have played 11 games in 19 days, and I think that is going to take an effect on them, and I think that's something to watch as we go on, the fatigue level. Meanwhile, the Jets will have played, however many, like half that many games, so I think the Jets are at a real good spot here, but as we remember, I think someone mentioned Game 1 against Vegas of the 2018 West Final. I was convinced the Jets were going to the Cup after that, and we know what happened. Vegas won 4 straight. And I think a lot of us also, just look at the first round. I don't think a lot of people had both of these teams here. So whatever you think might happen, especially what happened in the regular season, means nothing. So we are just looking forward to the game tonight. The Jets, I think it is good, though. Ehlers going to be healthier. Dubois, I think we're kind of speculating that he's been battling some stuff throughout this year, and I think Kiprio said that yesterday. It's going to be huge for those two guys. So, the countdown is on. I should have like a countdown thing until puck drop here in the bottom corner.
Listen, the extra rest from the injury side of things, I think, is massive for the Winnipeg Jets, and get an extra week for Nikolai Ehlers in particular. To get healthy, because this will be a difficult series. I mean, we saw what Montreal was able to do Toronto, and we saw what the Winnipeg Jets did to Edmonton. And I guess the thing, and I'm looking forward to talking to Dale Weise in particular about this, is what he expects to see tonight when they drop the puck. I mean, I would think that going up against Montreal and the attack against Montreal would be kind of different than a team like Edmonton or Toronto, just because of the way that they're made and they're built. It just seemed like in the Edmonton series, it was so much about stopping McDavid and Draisaitl, and if you were able to do that, you're in really good shape. The Jets did that for the most part. When they didn't, they needed to score some goals, got to overtime, and we know how things went in games 2, 3, and 4 in the extra frame, triple OT in the one game. But honestly, do the Jets do anything differently than the way they came out against Edmonton, or do they feel that is the blueprint to win in the playoffs, period, and that's the way they start going forward? I'm quite interested, because I do think there's probably maybe a little bit more offense to be gained by the Winnipeg Jets, but again, it doesn't really matter how many you score as long as it's one more than the other team. And I think that for Winnipeg, the key to their success in round number 1 was a real consistent focus on back pressure, back check, neutral zone, no free lanes. And I think that's probably what we'll see coming out of the first period tonight, Reem.
Yeah, and we know Montreal, they've relied on Phil Danault to shut down the opposition. He's playing with daily faceoff right now, Gallagher, Danault, Evans. What do you got? Toffoli, Suzuki, Caulfield. Now, we haven't seen too much Caulfield against the Jets. I remember the first 2 games, he didn't get in the lineup, and then it seemed like once he was in, they turned it around. So, and then you got third line, you got Byron, Kotkaniemi, Anderson, and then fourth line, Perry, Stahl, Armia. So Montreal doesn't really have that, top-end elite talent, but throughout the lineup, they are pretty solid. So those matchups are going to be something we're going to be tuned in for, dialed in, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I do think this is going to be a series that you're going to see contributions from players from the top to the bottom of the lineup, and I'll say that for both teams. The Edmonton Oilers game plan was pretty simple: play McDavid and Draisaitl 30 minutes a game, and hopefully they outscore the other squad. Montreal is very different. And you mentioned, Danault was the one forward that played over 20 minutes in that final game. All the other forwards were in and around just the mid-teens. And it does speak to the depth that Montreal has that maybe Edmonton didn't, that they are able to roll the 4 lines like that. It's interesting, Reem, and again, going off the daily face-off lines, the centers, Danault, Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, and Stahl, a pretty good group. Now, Kotkaniemi at the beginning wasn't even in the lineup. Neither was Cole Caulfield, but both of those players came in and were very impactful, and you imagine that you'll see them going forward. But, the fourth line, Eric Stahl, Corey Perry, and Joel Armia, listen, they don't have the high-end talent even of the Jets, I don't think, when it comes to scoring. But the Montreal Canadiens are a pretty deep team. And when you get past the quality they have on that third, especially the fourth line, you then go to a top 4 defense of Sherratt, Weber, Edmondson, and Petrie that will play big minutes tonight and really showed their worth in the first round against the Leafs.
Yeah, and they've all their guys can contribute. Tyler Toffoli, he's been maybe the free agent pickup of the offseason. So can they contain him? Can they contain this power play? We haven't even touched on the defense. Shea Weber was out during the year, and you have to wonder, he's a bit fresher now because he didn't play all those games. And Jeff Petrie, and he doesn't really get talked about a lot, but he's a very solid offensive defenseman as well. Where they can be exposed, if you ask Montreal fans, is their bottom pair, Kulak and Gustafsson. We'll see how many minutes they get. I know a lot of people confused as to why Romanov hasn't been in the lineup, but if you're like one of the Jets, looking for that tasty matchup, I think would take advantage of those guys.
Yeah, Romanov. The Romanov situation is interesting. We'll ask Dale Weise about that. I have to admit, when I saw the Habs play this year, I was really impressed by him. I thought that if you had told me that there were 2 options, he would either be on the top in the top 4 or out of the lineup, I would have thought he would be more likely to be in the top 4. So anyways, we'll get to that with Weise when he comes on in just a couple of minutes. And then, of course, Scott Billeck a little bit later on in the program. Remo, it's also draft lottery today. Are we going to do something fun? Maybe our own little WST draft lottery, and we'll maybe give away a DQ cake at the end of the program?
Yeah, it is Jets game day, so we do want to give away a cake. I think the draft, especially here in Winnipeg, not being talked about. I remember, the Line A year, we basically did the draft lottery just like a daily thing. All right, let's do the draft lottery simulator. What's going to happen? And I looked at the odds. Buffalo, number 1 team, 16.6% chance of the number 1 pick. Anaheim, second, 12.1. And then Seattle and New Jersey, number 3 at 10.3%. So it's just for the top 2. I guess because, some teams were tanking really hard and not getting rewarded. They've changed it to try to reward the worst teams. Who was it? Detroit, I think, got kind of screwed out of their tank, right? Isn't that if they're trying to help?
Pretty much. It's just good not to be in the draft lottery game right now, but we will have some fun with that at the end of the program. As I mentioned, Scott Billeck coming up, Dale Weise in just a minute. Before that, I do want to get to a couple messages from our sponsors, including our newest sponsor, Policy Me, and the website policyme.com. Listen, this is not your dad's life insurance broker. I'll ask you a few questions. Do you like sales calls with insurance brokers? How about doing lots of paperwork? Being upsold a bunch of other types of insurance you don't need? Well, if so, keep scrolling or keep going because Policy Me isn't for you. However, if you love a hassle-free online experience that doesn't involve talking to anybody on the phone, check out Policy Me. It's quick and easy life insurance that'll get you you can do from your standing desk couch or even while you're listening to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Very simply, Policy Me offers affordable rates, on average 10 to 20% lower than other insurers in Canada. You'll get an instant decision. You won't be waiting around for weeks. And most people don't require a medical exam. It's a simple, easy, online, straightforward process that'll save you time, hassle, and get you a great rate. It's not the sexiest purchase, but it's something that you probably need going forward for you and your family. So check out online, policyme.com. And we did get a quote. I did get a text from someone or a tweet saying, Paula see me. No, it's not Paula and then S-E-E. It's policy, like the word. PolicyMe.com. Get there. And when they ask you how you heard about the site, please mention podcast. Also, speaking of Nick and Nicky DQ, I heard Nick today on Jets at Lunch mentioning that it's a great day for a blizzard. We're definitely into blizzard season right now. In addition to a whiteout that'll be happening in all homes around the city. DQ, Nick and Nicky, Niverville, Northgate, Polo Park, and St. Anne's. They'll get you a cake ready, maybe a great Jets cake. We'll give one of those away later on today, but you can order them online at DQ Manitoba and connect with them and the 4 stores through there. Even order it in advance, get it ready to pick up. Big thanks to Nick and Nicky for their support. And of course, Breezy Bend Country Club. We'll get to a little PGA update tomorrow as they get going at the Memorial Tournament. but we're just waiting to get these restrictions open and get back together on the golf course. It is gorgeous out at Breezy right now, and if you're thinking about becoming a member for next year, you can get on the waiting list, breezybend.ca. All right, let's get to some puck talk. Great timing to welcome in our guy, Dale Weise, Winnipeg native, but former Montreal Canadian, and I see he's got the Habs hat on. That's good. Going back against, by the way, for people listening on the podcast, I am wearing the 4-0 Q-Zip from the first round. And I see, Dale, nice to see that you're showing off some of your kicks in the background. That's quite the shoe closet you've got there.
Yeah, I got some interesting ones. Those are my playoff shoes, so I keep those around from time to time.
How's it going, pal? Great to talk to you. Who would have thunk it? Jets Habs second round, huh?
Man, it's crazy. I wouldn't have thought it when we talked a couple months ago that this would be the situation today. Literally the way the Jets were trending, the way Montreal was trending, I don't think anybody could have predicted this. But as a fan, I'm so excited.
No, I think we all are. It is not what people expected, but certainly if you're connected to either of these markets, such a huge opportunity to be the last team standing in Canada. Lots of bragging rights that go on with that, not to mention still keeping the dream alive of playing with the Stanley Cup. Listen, before we get to this matchup between Winnipeg and Montreal, let's go back to the series. How the heck did the Habs do it? Did they do it, or was this just the most epic choke job ever of the Toronto Maple Leafs like we're hearing about nonstop?
Man, I could go on both arguments with that one. I'll choose to look at the positive side first. Carey Price was playoff Carey Price. He was incredible. He comes in, steals game one, and the team played well in game one. As the series went on, 2-3, Toronto wins 3 in a row. And I to be honest with you, I'm the biggest optimistic Montreal Canadiens fan, and I was doubting them. I didn't like the way they were playing. It just looked like, okay, you know what? Toronto's the talk of the North Division, and Montreal doesn't have a chance. But, KK comes in, Caulfield comes in, and it's like they bring some energy to the team, and things start changing. And then, they get on an absolute roll. And on the other side, what an absolute choke job by Toronto. I'm shocked. I'm honestly still shocked. You watch Matthews and Marner's and Toronto play during the year, you're like, okay, things are different this year. And they're such elite players to just fade away is just incredible to me.
How much of it, Dale, was because it was interesting. I mean, I think Montreal and Winnipeg had pretty similar challenges going into these series. I mean, you needed to be far better defensively than maybe you were regularly in the regular season. You need to raise that level of game and embrace playoff hockey. And first and foremost, shut down the best players on the other team. And by scoring, I think had 4 of the top 5, 2 on Edmonton and 2 on Montreal. From a Habs perspective, what did they do so well? Because listen, we're going to talk about, a quote unquote no-show of Matthews and Marner, but the Habs had a big part in that as well. Tell us about the way that they were able to limit those players the way they did through 7 games.
Yeah, I don't think Montreal's getting enough credit. People are all over Matthews and Marner and the offense of Toronto, and they're not giving Montreal enough credit. Carey Price was unbelievable early in this series. He made some really key saves on Marner and Matthews game 1, game 2, and then he kind of got in their head a little bit. You could see it. You look in game 7, Matthews got a chance in the slot. He rips it over the net. Not that it's a big deal, but he's such an elite shooter. You just don't see it happen very often. And you could see as the series wore on, and to me, I look at the game 1 thing where Montreal's got some physical defense. Sherratt, Weber, Edmondson, Petry's a big body. Like, you're paying the price in their zone. You're going to get hit. You're going to get whacked in front of the net. And Matthews is smiling in game 1. And then by game 6 and game 7, there was no smile anymore. He was not involved. He was not pushing back. And I think that's where Montreal really started to take over the series.
Hey, shout out to Waverly West Wingman. Thanks for the super chat, Waverly West. Go Jets Go is right, fired up and ready to go. We really appreciate the support. So let's talk about Price for a minute, because I think maybe the best storyline of this series is this goaltending matchup between the defending Vezina Trophy winner, a guy that is still respected as maybe the best in the game by a large percentage of National Hockey Leaguers for what he's done over his career. And this could very well be an Olympic goaltending matchup if you look ahead and think about the top goalies in Canada and the United States. But, I mean, from a former teammate of Carey Price, a guy that's played in front of him, how much does he mean to the Montreal Canadiens, and what have you seen in playoff Price that maybe we didn't see in the regular season?
Yeah, Carey Price is everything to the Montreal Canadiens. He's such a huge leader in that locker room. You know, whether it was our playoff run in 2014, we go to the conference final, like he played out of his mind, but he had some big things to say at really key times throughout that run. And, you know, last year going into the bubble, again, he was lights out against Pittsburgh. And then you can see it again. He just gets to another level. And guys just know when he's get to that level in the playoffs, you just play with a little more swagger. You can take a little more chance. You don't got to be as airtight, and he's going to back you. So it's just another level. It's another level. And you know, speaking about Hellebuyck, I'm just really excited to see the matchup. Again, another guy that I don't think gets enough credit. And, you know, if he wants to be considered as, you know, the elite guy in the NHL, and I think he's right there, winning this series and outplaying Carey Price is going to go a long way for him.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that he'll come in motivated with a chip on his shoulder. He didn't get nominated for the Vezina. Many people thought that he should have, but it's
me included for sure.
You know, and it's just an interesting comparison between the two because, you know, Hellebuyck at times, you know, you win, he's so fired up. I mean, he's as intense as any player on the club, and I think it was Dave Poulin that mentioned yesterday that, you know, Carey Price wins a game and it looks like he was just out mowing his lawn. I mean, the guy is about as calm and, you know, he expects to be there. I don't think Carey Price at all is at all thinking about a matchup against another elite goaltender. He's thinking about winning games, but it's a different approach from both, but I think one that can be helpful to both of them. It's certainly got them this far already.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting after Game 7 when I saw that, you know, the time runs out and he kind of just, it was like another season win, which, you know, he does show emotion at a lot of times. And a lot of times, you know, it's behind closed doors and people don't get a chance to see it. But a very, very fiery competitor. And like you said, he's not a guy that's going to look at this matchup and say, hey, it's me versus Connor Hellebuyck. It's just not the way he thinks. And then on the other side, Hellebuyck is a guy that I love seeing getting fired up. I love when he goes at the media after games. He's competitive. I have so much respect as a player when I see a guy compete like that.
Taylor Ewell, thank you very much. He's in the super chat too. $5 says, "Hi Dale." They, you know, you have fans even though you're coming into this program wearing that red hat today, Weise. It is interesting though because this is literally the perfect setup, perfect matchup for certainly for us to talk about. I mean, you played and followed the Habs all year. You're doing the work with Habs tonight, and I know you paid close attention to your hometown team and what they've been able to do. Thoughts on the way the Jets turned around that miserable end of the season and pulled off 4 straight against Edmonton?
Yeah, it's great for me as a fan because no matter who wins this series, I'm coming out happy. You know, like it's probably the first time I've ever said that. But you know, Montreal wins, I'm happy. Winnipeg wins, I'm happy too. So it's going to be great. But it's interesting because me as one, the way the Jets were playing down the stretch. Okay, they're missing a key guys. Lowry was out a little bit there, and Ehlers was out, and those are 2 huge components of the lineup. But just the way they were playing to me. I don't know what it was. I understand it's a long season. Guys are tired, but I didn't like their game going into the playoffs. And then I watched Game 1, and I'm like, okay, this is the team I kind of figured they could be. Okay, here's Game 2. Yeah, okay, and then Game 3, it's like, okay, here we go. Edmonton's coming back. And then it's just, to me, when I watch 3 and 4, like, it's just a team I wouldn't want to play. This is the team I expected Winnipeg to be. You know, they have high-end talent. And the difference, I think, you know, to jump ahead between Winnipeg and Toronto, which Montreal is going to have trouble with, is Winnipeg's top guys don't back away from it. They push back. They're not afraid to be gritty, and you won't bother them. You're not going to get in Scheifele's head. You're not going to bother Blake Wheeler, and it's going to be a great matchup. And Winnipeg's playing so good at the right time. Montreal's playing their best hockey of the year. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and Dale Weise with us here from Habs Tonight, longtime NHLer. We'll talk about what they're doing before the game coming up in just a few minutes. You know, we were just going through the lineups and, you know, very familiar with the Winnipeg Jets, now back to full health. Ehlers and Dubois get an extra week to kind of rest and get ready. I mean, they're set. But when you look at the Habs, you know, they're such a different team than Edmonton or Toronto in that they're not top heavy like those clubs are. I mean, they really don't have that super elite talent at center. But then you look at the depth of the position, right down to Eric Stahl in the 4th line with Armia and Perry, and realize that this is a much, much deeper team. And, you know, I would imagine, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, that this will be, at least early on in the series, depending on what happens, a series where I think both coaches roll 4 lines, outside of specialty teams, and there will be a plenty of opportunity for some of the unsung guys or guys in the bottom 6 to make an impact early. I don't think it'll hang as much on the top players, if you will, as you would normally think of, certainly going against an Edmonton or Toronto.
Yeah, I agree. And if Montreal is going to win this series, they're going to need contributions from everybody. Like you said, they don't have any superstars. Suzuki was great the last couple games. Again, KK really came in the lineup and added a jolt. Mind you that I predicted that, but no big deal. But they need contributions from everybody. I really like the way they were rolling 4 lines. Eric Stahl, Corey Perry, they were on the 4th line the whole series, but they had huge contributions. And inside that locker room, that those guys carry so much weight. Stanley Cup champions, they've been around forever. Olympic gold, it's like, their resume is incredible. So it's an interesting lineup. And I'm interested to see what Montreal does because, they've kept this lineup for a couple games. They got a couple moving pieces on the back end, barring some injuries. They got some guys that could switch out. I'm interested to see how long the lineup stays for Montreal, to be honest with you.
Well, and let's talk about that lineup because it was quite interesting and certainly a hot topic on your program and in Montreal about the lineup going into the series, which didn't have Kotkaniemi and didn't have Cole Caulfield. And, sitting here today talking about this series, it's almost inconceivable that those guys weren't in the lineup. Put it this way. What did you hear? What were you hearing? What were you guys saying at the beginning? And how much credit does Dominic Ducharme have for the way he brought those guys into the lineup and then used them in the series to turn it around?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes them look like a genius the way they came in and really launched the team. I understood the Caulfield one. He played a couple games down the stretch, and to me, he doesn't do enough of the areas. If he doesn't score. He doesn't do a lot of the other things yet. And for me, I was okay with him not playing. But KK was a guy last year that I watched. I was on the ice with him in the playoffs, and he was one of the best forwards, and he turned his game up. And I saw it as a chance for him to reset as a young guy. Okay, I wasn't very good the last 20 games. Let me reset in the playoffs like I did last year. They didn't give him that chance in game 1. He came in after and proved people wrong. So I was kind of taken back by it. And, on the back end, Romanov played all year as a really young guy that played great. He played great. He was great down the stretch. And, to not have him in the lineup, as the series went along, you couldn't bring him in. You would be throwing the kid into the fire. So I'm interested to see if he gets in the lineup. Winnipeg's a little bigger. They're a little more physical, and he can really match up well there.
Well, I got to ask you about Romanov, and there's been a couple of people in the chat that have been asking about him as well, in that, I was really impressed with him in the regular season. I thought that they had, a guy that they'd be leaning on. And if you had asked me a month ago, Dale, is Romanov's going to either be playing in the top 4 or not in the lineup, I would have guessed that he would have been in the top 4. So it was really surprising not to see him in the lineup. And then again, Ducharme really kind of rolling with those top 2 pairings. So even if they'd like to bring him in, they can kind of do it slowly. But I guess there's a lot of challenges for a rookie defenseman, even one that played as well as he did during the regular season, coming into Stanley Cup playoff hockey, which, as we've found out in spades, is quite a bit different than the regular season version.
Yeah, it's another level. But like you said, he played so well during the year. I absolutely saw him as a staple coming to the playoffs. It made no sense to me to not have him in the lineup. Some of the guys that came in were playing 3 and 5 and 7 minutes, and it's like, you don't think he could have done that by gaining experience? This is a guy that's going to be in your lineup for the next 10 years. He's an absolute stud as a defenseman. He's physical. He moves up puck. He skates well. He has some swagger to him. He doesn't care who you are. He's going to smash you. He does it in practice. He does it in the games. I think he's great. So I'm interested to see if he can draw in and make an impact in the series. But, you could see Ducharme leaning towards the veteran guys, having the Stahl in the lineup, on the back end, having Merrill and Early, and then Gustafsson, a guy that has a little more experience than Romanov.
Dale, Philip Deneau, a lot of people talked about Deneau and the role that he had in shutting down the top guns on the Leafs, clear ice time leader in the series, and is not a guy you're going to see at the top of the scoring list all the time, but he does play a very important role. What did you see from Deneau in the series against the Leafs, and what do you expect his role is going to be when Dom Ducharme has the matchups that he wants?
Yeah, I thought he was excellent. A lot of what I saw him do to Crosby last year, he's just frustrating. He doesn't do a lot to wow you, to flash you. He's not going to make these end-to-end offensive rushes, although he did do it against Winnipeg a couple years ago. But, he's great on faceoffs. He just does these little things that just piss you off if you're playing against him. Matthews, he's in your face all the time. But it's him and Gallagher as a tandem. For the better part of that series, Tatar, the three of them they didn't produce a lot of offense in the series, but they generate shots. They make you play defense. They don't give you a lot, and it's just frustrating. And I see that a lot going forward. On the penalty kill also, Deneau's incredible on the faceoff dot. You win a faceoff, boom, you kill 15 seconds. Like, it just frustrates you as an offensive guy to have to deal with that every single night.
Toffoli had such a monster season. Didn't have a huge round number one. Listen, he was basically worth the money the minute he, for all intents and purposes, eliminated the Vancouver Canucks from the playoffs in the first 2 weeks of the season, scoring 2 goals every time. But his spot in the lineup and where's his game at? How important is getting him going for the Montreal Canadiens if they want to win 4?
Yeah, so he scored a big goal in Game 6 at home, and that was his best game in the series. He didn't have the greatest start to the series. He's a scorer. Tyler Toffoli has to score. He does a lot of other good things. He's a good two-way player. But in order for Montreal to be successful and for him to be at his best, he's got to score. And, he gets a late one in 6. I'm pretty sure he had the empty netter in 7. He's going to score some goals. I think he's going to open up a little bit in this series. And, again, if Montreal is going to win, they do it by committee. But he's one of those main guys that has to score.
Do you see an advantage on either side when it comes to special teams?
I love Montreal's penalty kill, but I also love the Jets' power play. So it's going to be a great battle. Montreal's power play wasn't great in the first round. It found some big goals in Game 6, which was huge. Probably the turning point of that series. I don't know if that launches their confidence coming into the next round, and they can use that. They had a couple different looks. I think Caulfield adds a little bit of a different element, to the power play. But again, I think both teams are so strong on the penalty kill, and your best penalty kill is your goaltender. So both teams are set there.
Well, and there's another guy that'll be play a big role on the penalty kill. He'll probably play a big role pretty much 30 minutes a night, and that is Shea Weber. Where's Shea at right now? And just, for folks that are here right now, tell us about playing with him as a teammate and just what a horse he is for the Habs.
Yeah, he's an absolute animal. I think he was injured down the stretch a little bit. They were trying to limit his minutes, but he looked pretty good to me in the first round. He looked like playoff Shea Weber. Every time you go near him, you're getting a whack. You're getting a cross check in front of the net. He's swallowing you in the corner. He just brings such an element. He's one of those guys. I didn't play with Stahl and Perry, but I would assume it's similar. When he just walks in the room, they just have a presence to him, and when they speak and when they talk about the confidence that they have in the team, it just builds you up. It builds up your room, and the guy's an absolute warrior. Again, I'd love to see him get a couple on the power play. He didn't get a lot of looks in Toronto, but I'd love to see him get a couple against Winnipeg.
Well, it's pretty interesting to see him playing all these minutes with former Jet Ben Sherratt on the other side. It was interesting. I saw Bieksa on the broadcast, I want to say in Game 7, just gushing over Sherratt and, talking about all the little things that he was doing, boxing in and out. You need guys that do that, and it seems like that money they spent on Ben Sherratt has been well worth it. We talk and focus on Weber so much, but Ben Sherratt probably deserves quite a bit of credit for what he's doing on the blue line.
He's been incredible from the day Montreal got him. What an absolute brilliant pickup for Montreal. When you watched Winnipeg's playoff run, what was it, 3 years ago, you look at those D guys, and Ben Sherratt was one of those guys that kind of people were like, okay, he's a third pairing guy on Winnipeg. That's kind of all he can be. And then he's come to Montreal and he's flourished. He's got this confidence from the coaching staff and confidence in himself. And he's just been incredible. And he's one of those guys, again, that Winnipeg's going to find out very quickly that it's hard to play against these guys. You do not want to be in the corners. You don't want to be in front of the net with these guys. Him, Weber, Edmondson. Like you're getting whacked every single time in a long series that wears you down.
So, Dale, put on your coaching hat for a minute. You're Dom Ducharme. You're going into this series. You're on the road in the first 2 games, and you're coming off a real tough series. First things first, you want to get your team ready to play and put their best foot forward. But when you look at the Winnipeg Jets, without last change, what are the biggest challenges from a coaching perspective that the Habs will be dealing with games 1 and 2 here in the Peg?
Yeah, you know what? I'm interested to see who they match the Lowry lineup. First of all, I'm interested to see who he's going to play against. Like you said, when you look at Montreal, it's really hard to say it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at Winnipeg, it's pretty established. I can look and say, okay, 1, 1A, and then 3, 4 is the way I look at the Winnipeg Jets. So it's going to be interesting. And you know what? For me, a guy that I think has to bring his physical game that's going to play, hopefully bring some fits to Winnipeg is Josh Anderson. He's a guy that was unbelievable in game 1 in the series in Montreal, and he was great in game 7, but I just don't think he did enough from 2 to 6. And I think he's a guy that's going to have some matchup issues in Winnipeg because he's a big body, he's got a ton of speed, and I think he can capitalize on Winnipeg's defense.
If we boil it down to 1 or 2 things, what are the most important factors in your mind that will determine who advances to the Final Four, Dale?
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, I think it starts in net. Not that those are concerns, but those are going to be the biggest differences. Both goaltenders on each side are going to be huge. And to me, the biggest issue I have with Montreal in this series, again, that I was – they found a way against Toronto, but I don't know if it's going to be that way against Winnipeg because they got to score goals. And I think it's going to be an issue. Not that Campbell didn't play well enough for Toronto, but Hellebuck's he's another animal. He's a carbon copy of Carey Price in the other nets. And I just think Winnipeg's such a strong team. It's a different animal compared to Toronto.
Hey, we're going to focus on this series for the next 2 weeks, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the team that will be most likely awaiting the winner of this series. Can anybody beat the Colorado Avalanche? What have you thought about the way that team looks so far and the way they started against Vegas?
Yeah, I watched them in the first round, and I thought, holy smokes, if this team can stay healthy through this whole run, I don't think anybody can touch them.
Like, St. Louis is not a bad team, and they absolutely massacred them.
That series wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. Every single game was not close. And then you come out and you put 7 spot up on Vegas, who was an incredible team also. And they're just sending a message, and very similar to what I thought they could do last year. I'm interested again if they could stay healthy. And then I love Tampa's game right now too. I'm a really big Tampa Bay Lightning fan.
Yeah, they I thought that this might be the year that Carolina could do it. But, it's so funny. You see a team, and, maybe we'll be talking about the Leafs in a few years after failure after failure after failure, albeit the Leafs always in the first round. Tampa got close, and weren't able to do it. Once you actually win, Dale, it's a whole different aura around a team. And I think we saw that on Tampa throughout the regular season, knowing that, listen, we'll be there at the end. Well, we're not first place, not a big deal, but we'll be ready to go. And, of course, getting a guy like Kucherov back certainly helps. But, it seems like a team, once they get over the hump, the mindset is completely different, and they have not had a hard time at all raising their level in 2 very, very difficult matchups in the first 2 rounds.
No, I agree. Their team, again, is so deep, and their offense is incredible. And for me, those guys, when they weren't winning those years, their top guys were still carrying them, as opposed to when I make the comparison to Toronto, I just didn't see a lot of pushback from their top guys. It's frustrating as a guy to watch because they have so much talent and they play with so much swagger during the year. And, just to watch the way they went out, it's incredible. I don't know if Toronto's going to get enough reins to stay together 5-6 years to try to get over the hump. I just don't think in that city, in that market, that the leash is long enough.
You know what the funny thing about the Leafs is, not to spend too much time on a team that's out and irrelevant until next season, but there'll be people that will say, oh, break up the core, you got to switch things up. I mean, that's easier said than done when you have 3 guys making $11 million. I mean, William Nylander, you want to move him? Absolutely. You'll have some takers for that. And listen, Austin Matthews as well, but you can't really do that. Tavares at $11 million at his age. I don't think that contract's movable, not to mention he's got a full no move. and then Mitch Marner. And I mean, Marner is an incredible, incredible player. But considering what we've seen in the postseason and the fact that he's at over $11 million, and then there's that other kind of significant stat that Carey Price, having won the first round, is the first player ever in the cap era making over $10 million to win a round at any point, Dale. It goes to tell you, like, Stanley Cups are won with deep, balanced teams, not just a couple superstars.
Absolutely. That was a great stat when I saw that. I didn't look too much into it, but it's just very, very interesting. But when you look at it, you look at Edmonton and you have, two of the top scorers, Toronto, very similar. But you need so much more in the playoffs when your two guys cannot score. I mean, Edmonton and Toronto are perfect examples. You need other guys to step up. And when you have so much money invested on those, you don't have very good $3-4 million third, fourth line guys. You just don't have them. And it's unfortunate. And maybe that stat will change the way guys think going forward.
Super Chat, MBHA Ball Hockey, thank you very much for the support. Great to see you back here getting ready for Game 1 between the Habs and Leafs tonight. So speaking of tonight, you and the Habs Tonight gang are all fired up for the series. Fill people in on what you guys have coming up for the entire next couple weeks as the Jets and Habs go at it.
Yeah, so we'd love to get some Winnipeg fans coming on. We do a lot of live shows. Tonight, I'll be on the live show with my brother and Brandon, another guy on my team. And, of course, you're going to come on and join us today, which we're really excited about. And, so we do a live pregame. We have a live postgame. People can come on. They can chat. You come on the video chat with us. You send an email and you're in. It's very, very quickly. And then, I'm thinking about doing a couple Instagram lives between periods and try to chirp some Jets fans and just have some fun with it.
So Habs Tonight is the YouTube channel. People can get to that. Essentially, just many of you watching on YouTube right now, put in Habs Tonight. What about the social media? Where can they find you on Instagram and the other spot?
Yeah, we're Habs Tonight on every social media platform. We're absolutely everywhere. Anywhere you look, you'll see Habs Tonight. I would love to get some Winnipeg people chirping us on Instagram. Let's get it going a little bit.
Let's go. I'm running in with the boys around 5:30 or 5:45 today, so come and support. Remis has the link for the YouTube channel in the chat. If you're with us live, just click on that. Give him a sub. We'll see you there a little later on. Jet Oil Tom in the super chat. Thanks, Jet Oil. Love hearing Dale, but he needs a Jets hat. We'll have one for him in a couple weeks. Ready to go when it's all said and done.
Fair enough.
Hey, quickly, did I see you inked a deal for next year?
Yeah, too. I'm so excited. So, I've been talking to teams for the last couple months, and this situation was kind of the best for me. I talked to the GM and the coach, and we're all kind of on the same page. So I leave end of July, so I'm pretty excited.
Now, is Lauren and Team Weise coming over to Sweden? That's a pretty big crew to take overseas. You guys have a lot on your hands at the homestead right now.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to go over first and kind of get things set up. And then I think the whole crew is going to come over maybe, once I'm there after a month or two, they'll come stay for the rest of the year. We'll see how it works. We'll kind of play it by ear. Like you said, we got a big crew and it might not be the best situation to have everybody over there.
Well, listen, congratulations on that. Looking forward to catching up tonight on Habs Tonight. And yes, for everyone that came in late that was asking about the kicks in the background, those are Dale's playoff shoes. Tune in tonight on Habs Tonight to check out. I'm sure he's got a great Game 1 outfit ready to go. Hey, dude, say hi to Lauren and the kids. Thanks so much for doing this, and we'll catch up a little later on today.
Will do. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
There he is, the man, Dale Weise. Give him a follow on Twitter and Instagram and check out the work that he's doing with the boys following the Montreal Canadiens on Habs Tonight. And as I said, I'll jump in with the guys for a few minutes, 5:30, 5:45-ish before puck drop tonight. So very much looking forward to that. All right, Scott Billeck coming up in just a few minutes. Do want to thank our good friends at Not Autocorp for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily right from day one. Not Autocorp's at Waverly and McGillivray, buying and selling all makes and models, including maybe the best selection of Tesla vehicles in the city. They've been a Tesla leader for over 7 years, and it's much more than just vehicles. Full service body shop, detailing center, Red Seal technicians. They can take care of everything for you at Not Autocorp. And of course, if you're thinking about getting out of a vehicle, It'll help you consign your vehicle with their consignment program and get maximum value for it. Not AutoCorp, Waverly and McGillivray. Check them out online at not.ca. And the countdown continues to puck drop tonight, folks. You still have time to get the whites on. And if you're looking for whiteout gear, Winnipeg Jets merchandise, maybe a new jersey, a car flag, Royal Sports at 650 Raleigh EK and 750 Pembina Highway is the place to go. As you can see on the screen right now, white shirts of the players, bring it home, whiteouts, and then all the white jerseys, white hats ready for you right now. They've also got Winnipeg Jet Yeti mugs. And in addition, while you're there, you can check out all of the offerings they have from European soccer, NFL, baseball, and then the actual equipment to get outside. Disc golf, bikes, tennis, soccer, baseball. You know what? They've got it all. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Thanks to them for their support of the show. And, of course, Boston Pizza. We finally have a Jets game night tonight. I'm not sure whether you want to go with the game day meal, the spicy pierogi pizza, the meteor pizza, and the 24 case of wings, or the pizza flights, which are on sale right now for $18.99. But you can do it takeout or delivery, and in not too long, we'll be back in the BP Lounge watching the Jets, sipping schooners, and getting the Winnipeg Sports Talk gang together. Thanks again to Boston Pizza for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. All right, Scott Billeck is going to join us in a few minutes. Let's get Michael Remis back in here for a moment. You know, Dale is quickly turning into, Remis, one of the great guests on the program. And he's a guy you can chop it up and talk about pretty much anything with, but what a perfect opportunity to have Weise in here before his old team and his hometown team go head to head. And the fact that he's been covering the Habs so closely with Habs Tonight all year just made it that much better.
Yeah, he's got firsthand experience, covering them this year as media and as well playing with them, and hearing him talk about Carey Price, Phil Deneau, that additional insight that you don't get all the time. So great hearing from Dale. His second time on the program. Love hearing from him, and nice to hear that he's going to be playing pro in Sweden next year. So really nice of him to spend some time with us, and you'll be on his channel, Habs Tonight. And I posted the link in the chat earlier. It is in the description of this video, too. You can just click on that and throw them a sub as well.
Yeah, pop in when I'm on, folks, and do a little representing. You can pump your chests out with all the confidence that Jets fans have going into this series. Although, as much as, I think, most fans are a heck of a lot more confident going into this series than they were against the Edmonton Oilers, Reem. You look at the numbers, you see what Montreal has done and the way they did it, and I think it's pretty safe to say that this won't be easy for either team. I expect a very close, tightly fought series, and who knows, maybe we'll have a few more overtime heroes because both the Habs and Jets produced multiple ones of those in the first round.
Yeah, I see a lot of people in chat saying, the Jets are going to run over the Habs, and the Habs fans are now coming in chat and saying, the Jets are going down. I do enjoy that friendly banter, but as much as you think your team is going to destroy, I do think it's going to be a close series. And I said earlier on this show that I do think fatigue will also be a factor for Montreal. I think you can't overlook it. You're seeing it in the NBA this season. Are you looking at the chat there? Sorry. The NBA this season. And just look at the Habs schedule. That's tough. I think rest is a premium this year, all year. I mean, they're playing every second night. You've had some teams with ridiculous, and I don't think you can overlook that. So I am looking forward to finally game one. That would be nice for some overtime heroes, some great goal calls. Also great for Winnipeg Sports Talk, social media, tweeting out all that stuff after, lots of excitement. So selfishly, yeah, I love another Jets overtime win.
Yeah, it certainly would. Listen, wins are wins. You want to get 4 of them before the other team does, and I think anyone would just sign up knowing that. But it's going to be tough, and I know a lot of people going into Game 7 were really hoping for the Habs because they thought that would be an easier matchup, if you will. I don't know about that. I mean, I think they won that series for a reason. Part of it, the Toronto Maple Leafs weren't up to the challenge to actually finish the job. But the other part of it is, and listen, I think Maurice certainly has a big edge on the coaching side of things when it comes to the huge amount of experience he has compared to what Dom Ducharme has. But at the same time, Remis, when you look at, and we talked about this with Dale, when you look at the roster of the Montreal Canadiens with Carey Price, with Shea Weber, with veterans like Eric Stahl and Corey Perry added to the mix, This is a team that has a ton of veteran leadership, guys that have been there before, that have done it before. And I mean, to me, that sort of really is the backbone of the club. And, we've seen some of the young players buy in and follow the leaders, as it were.
Yeah, one thing that I think surprised everyone who was watching the Jets all year is how different they looked against Edmonton. And we talked with JP Vijay, and he just, went to great description how their forecheck strategy changed. And, the playoff hockey started. They seemed, we talked earlier, can the Jets flip a switch after, this losing streak and turn it on for the playoffs? Well, they definitely did, and they definitely brought that intensity. And, after this layoff, they're going to have to restart again. And we'll see, what kind of strategies they use. And shutting down Montreal, it's not like they're a two superstar team like Edmonton is, but they're more balanced with throughout the lineup. So, again, I think the Jets, they have the depth. They're strong down the middle. We talked yesterday with Nick Kiprios about that, how, effective Lowry, Scheifele, and whether it's Stasny or Dubois. Stasny had the maintenance day yesterday. Obviously, he's fine. Maurice was asked today about the lineup. They're just rocking the same thing they've done throughout the playoffs, no changes. So, I think you do have to like the Jets' chances heading in.
Well, we got the best goaltending matchup you could possibly imagine. We've got two teams that came off of big upsets as massive underdogs, and you probably got some broadcasters that are angry about it, but I'll tell you that there's fans in Winnipeg and the Habs fans everywhere fired up for their club.
I saw some people tweeting out their picks for this series, and it was the Sportsnet picks or the ESPN picks, I forget which one, but every single broadcaster of this group had picked the Jets, and I was like, I don't know. I started to feel nervous after that.
Listen, I saw the same thing. It was the ESPN list, and every single one except for Bucci Maine picked Habs in 7, and I'm like, thank God he did. But I also said that scares the bejesus out of me, because we all know what happens when everyone picks one team. The other team inevitably wins. Exhibit A, Winnipeg over Edmonton. Exhibit B, Montreal over Toronto. And here we have the Jets and the Habs. So, we do see, hey, Michelle X. What up, Michelle? I see some Habs fans coming into the chat. Great to have you all. And listen, we're all going to have some fun tonight. And for those of you that want to jump into Habs tonight later on, let's just do it. Have fun, but be respectful of everyone. We got two great fan bases going into this series, as much as we may annoy each other when there's actually fans in the building. All right, I'll crack a little brown jug after we talk with Scott Billeck of the Winnipeg Sun, who is going to join us right about now. Scotty, what's going on? The wait is over. We finally got a hockey game, a real live hockey game tonight, but I don't think there was a lot of people a week ago that thought that this series was going to be starting in Winnipeg in the middle of the hottest week in about a year.
Yeah, it's going good, Cuss. Hope you guys are doing well. It's strange, right? I mean, nobody expected this. And yet, based on the both series, well, at least the Jets series, I mean, after it was like, okay, well, the Jets swept Edmonton. And so, that one was like, okay, well, I mean, the Jets are there. The big one was, the Leafs again, kind of choke in the playoffs, choke in the first round. Don't figure out a way to close out a series when up 3-1, and that's happened before in their history. We can go back to Boston a few years ago for another example of that. It's interesting, right? I mean, nobody expects it, but this is this is the greatest thing about sports, right? I mean, other than pro wrestling and stuff like that, where it's kind of it's scripted, but
what?
Everything. I knew you wouldn't like that. But here's the thing, right? Pro sports is I've heard people complain about this matchup saying, oh, it's going to be boring or whatever. Well, whatever, because it doesn't have McDavid and Matthews. Sure. But, here's the thing. McDavid and Matthews didn't really show up in each of their series, right? So, I mean, they did a little bit here and there and that sort of thing, but
McDavid a lot more than Matthews. I'll say
sure,
that.
But I mean, here's that's the thing, right? You don't expect it to be as good of a series if it was these two titans going after each other in the hockey world. But who cares? I mean, you have two teams here, one coming off a very convincing win, at least in terms of the sweep, and another team in Montreal who came from 3-1 down to beat a Leafs team that was supposed to walk all over them. I mean, those are good storylines. And like you said, when I was sitting in the back room here, you have now this goaltending matchup between Carey Price, who's been one of the best goaltenders, since he came into the league in 2008, and then against Connor Hellebuyck, the reigning Vezina winner, who put his stamp on that first round series with a .950 save percentage. So I mean, people can complain about it. I know some of this probably doesn't come from these two markets in terms of that media, but I get it's not the sexy matchup for the second round, but at the same time, I mean, it's a good matchup. The Jets suffered their worst defeat of the season on the scoreboard against the Canadiens. They also went 6-3-0 against the Canadiens during the regular season. 3 of those wins came in overtime. It took the Jets, 2 overtimes to win games in the first round. So I think there's a lot of storylines here. I think people need to, just enjoy what this is. I mean, this is sports, right? I mean, if you watch anything else, upsets happen all the time. This one, we found 2 upsets, and obviously, we now have a second round series that nobody expected.
Well, I do remember going into the Edmonton series on the program and said, well, hey, folks, just remember, this is why they play the games. I mean, you don't just get acclaimed on a great regular season. You have to do it. And the one thing I think that these two teams have been such a great example of, Scott, is how you need to prepare and adjust yourselves for playoff hockey, because it's different. And I think it's very easy to say, the Jets certainly did a better job of that in the Edmonton series, for the way they completely transformed the way they looked in the last month of the season to the way they looked in those 4 games going up against the Oilers. And I mean, I got to give Montreal very similar credit. I mean, I'm not sure how different it was from the way they played at their best, but they weren't at their best during that stretch. I mean, they moonwalked into the playoffs sort of like the Winnipeg Jets did, but the way they were able to challenge those top players and, play defensively was the core of both of the wins of these two teams that brought them here to tonight's game 1.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. I mean, you saw an Edmonton team and a Toronto team try to win a playoff hockey series the way that they played during the regular season, right? It was full frontal offense, and they weren't able to adapt to the way that the Jets and the Canadiens, respectively, adapted to a certain brand of hockey to beat those teams, right? At the end of the day, I think Ducharme and Paul Maurice both, they sort of outcoached Dave Tippett and Sheldon Keefe. I mean, you can look at the analytics, and I get it. Like, I mean, the analytics don't look good for either team that's in this second round. But 7-game series and even a 4-game series like Jets were, the analytics become less and less important because the sample size is so small. And the other thing you have to understand here, too, is that, you can't discount the fact that both of these teams just had fantastic goaltending. I mean, Carey Price came to this series. I was trying to look into the playoffs. He was like a .906 or .903 or something like that in the regular season. Like, he wasn't a great regular season goaltender, but then he turns in a .932 in the first round series against, the best offensive team. Well, maybe second best. It depends on how you look at it. But one of the best offensive teams in the league, and certainly one of the best in the North.
Hey, let me offer this up. Let me offer this up just while you mention that on Price, because I think we can say the same thing for Hellebuyck. I mean, both of those goaltenders came out of the first round with brilliant individual numbers. Yeah. But I think that a big part of that is the way their teams embraced playoff hockey and played in front of them that allowed them. I mean, we went over it. I know people said, oh, Hellebuyck stole the series. Well, did he really? I mean, they did such a good job of controlling those shots in the slot, the cross passes, and Montreal did as well. I mean, I don't think the Leafs had a high-danger scoring chance in the first 40 minutes of Game 7. I mean, listen, Carey Price made the saves that he had to, but it was a credit to the teams in front of these goaltenders that they really didn't need to be out-of-this-world brilliant. They just needed to stop the pucks that were coming at them, and they were more than capable of doing that.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, that is part of it. I mean, the Jets managed to keep McDavid and Draisaitl off the score sheet for 2 games, right? So, I mean, and that helped the Jets win those first 2 games. I don't think we can discount Hellebuyck or Price in this. Like, I'm not suggesting that you are, obviously. I'm just, I think that they both played incredible series. I mean, Hellebuyck is second in the NHL right now in goals saved above expected. So if you want to look at some of the analytics on this, well, Hellebuyck is where he was for the majority of their season right near the top in that category. He's still in the top 3 in the regular season. He's top 2 right now, next to Vasilevsky, and Carey Price is up there too. So and I think the other thing that you can say about the Jets is that eventually their top line guys started to show up, and they so it was a little slow at the gate, and then it kind of ramped up. The Toronto couldn't say that, right? And while Edmonton was able to do that in the final 2 games, I mean, the Jets obviously had that heroic comeback in Game 3, and then in Game 4, I mean, the Jets just looked like they were the better team. I mean, it was a back-to-back, obviously. Going to have another one of those, coming up in this series. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I just like, the format is, and people complain about it, and some of the best teams are out, and some of the best teams, this is sports, and this is how it goes. I mean, if you watch the UFC, if you watch whatever, you see people losing all the time that should always win. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of sick of that whole argument.
There's no guarantee. There's no guarantees. And I mean, there's
exactly.
You have to win your games. You don't, get a bye to the Final Four because you had a great regular season.
Well, and look at Tampa a couple years ago, right? 62 wins, and they're swept in the first round. I mean, perfect example of the best regular season team in a long time, almost 2 decades, or over that, I guess it was 2 decades, and they're out in the first round. Again, it's all about how you play in the first round. Obviously, some of that translates from the regular season, but I would suggest that a lot of Winnipeg's game in the first round was nothing like we saw in the final 12 or so games of the regular season. Right?
Listen, I would say it wasn't almost like any of the 56. I mean, even when they were winning beforehand, they weren't winning like that. And I guess the reason why I bring that up, the way these teams played in front of their goaltenders, is that as brilliant as the goalies are, if one team continues to do that and the other doesn't, that there's going to be a huge advantage to the goaltender whose team takes care of business the way they did in round number 1. Yeah. A big part of what the Jets did in round number 1 as well, right out of the opening faceoff in game number 1, was be far more physical than they've been before. How much physicality do you think we will see in tonight's game 1? And will that be something the Jets maybe lean on even more because of the fact that the Habs have been playing right up until Monday night, and they've been kicking back, chilling for the last 9 days after sweeping Edmonton?
Yeah, I think you're going to see murder in the eyes of Adam Lowry, and even like a guy like Logan Stanley, right? Especially tonight. I think I'm a firm believer that while hitting doesn't always show up on a lot of things, it does take the wind out of the sails for teams. I thought you saw that in Game 1 of the Jets series. And it's another thing that people have to think about, right? And it's taxing. I mean, if whoever's played full contact hockey before, whatever. I mean, if you played a bigger team, I remember playing teams from Boys of Vane. These were old farm kids. They were massive and they crushed us. And it just sucks the life out of you. That's just the way it was, right? And so I remember that, and so you remember those types of things going forward, and you saw how the Jets were able to do it. And I think you've also seen how Montreal was able to do it against Toronto, right? And so here's 2 teams that are physical. I mean, Josh Anderson's a big boy, Ben Sherratt, Shea Weber. I mean, there are some big guys on Montreal that can throw their weight around too. So, but the one thing that it came this year, as soon as Montreal won, or as soon as it went to kind of Game 7, I kind of thought, well, here's the Jets. They're sitting on, it eventually is, I think it's 9 days of rest at this point. They practice and all that, but they haven't played a game in 9 days. The Canadiens are now coming into it. One day, their off day was a travel day. They had to, obviously you have that emotion and you run through that, and then you come, on the travel day, you kind of get the rest you have. Now you have to play 4 games in 6 nights starting tonight. I think the Jets have a good opportunity here, and they can also rely on what they know from actually having kind of the reverse happen to them in the 2018 Western Conference Final, where I think you can watch Montreal play an emotionally charged game tonight, or you can try and suck that out of them right away by just getting on the body, right? These guys, emotions are only going to take you so far, but if physically you just can't do it because you're getting plastered against the boards every time or whatever it is, I think that's very important for the Jets, especially in this series and especially in the first 4 games, because there's just a lot of hockey that the Canadiens now have to play after playing such a, it was a grueling series against Toronto. I mean, I'm not, Game 7 was kind of a no-show for the Leafs, granted, but at the same time, I mean, there was times where the Canadiens looked, a little fatigued, I suppose is the right word.
I mean, hey, overtime in game. I mean, they had their backs against the wall. They were one goal away from losing in Game 5 and Game 6, and they got here. And to be honest, Scott, that's sort of why I think of this game and even this first period is so important from a Winnipeg side of things. Listen, if Montreal comes out and don't have a game, don't have a great game tonight and, end up losing, whatever the score is, I think they get some rest, they come back in Game 2 and they can totally live with that. If the Jets come out flat, we always talk about the rest versus rust and don't have a strong start and if they were to not win this game, I think you look at it as a big, big missed opportunity. Now, does one game mean the series is done? Absolutely not. But, you just want to look at the numbers. I mean, winning the first game will win you a lot more series than losing that first game does. And then when you put into the variables of both of these teams going into tonight, I just think that the Jets will need to come out and play with the urgency and desperation they did in those 4 games against Edmonton, because there is a big opportunity to get up on a team and then see what you can do going forward after you get one in the bank. Yeah,
I agree. And I think the Jets have to take that same mentality, because they did have a bit of a break between the end of their regular season and playing their first game, and they are still able to come out with that intensity. Let's not forget too, there's going to be 500 people in the crowd tonight, cheering them on. I think that provides a bit of a boost. I think that's going to provide a little boost for a lot of people, just to see people back in the stands, right? And now you're going to have, I'm sure it's going to sound loud, even though it's only limited to 500 people, because they're going to have to spread them out. It's going to kind of be, a little encapsulating inside there. It's not a big barn to begin with, and the noise is well contained in there, and we've all seen that before during game done. So I think there's that. I mean, I think there's obviously the pressure of coming out in Game 1, winning it on home ice, and all that sort of thing. I think there is going to be a bit of inspiration to see some of these healthcare workers who are the people that have really busted their ass. Hopefully I can say that on your show. People that have really busted their ass over the last 15 months. These are the heroes that we have in this province. They are the ones, and obviously for a lot of fans of the Jets, those are their heroes. At least in the sporting world, I think the Jets can borrow some of that that intensity, whatever it is tonight, and work it to their credit. We all know in playoff games, the Jets have leaned a lot on crowds in the past. If you can go back to Game 3 against the Nashville Predators here, and that incredible comeback that they had a few years ago, and how loud that building was. It's not going to be that loud. There's still missing about 15,000 people in there. But yeah, I think tonight is the opportunity. The Jets need to win this game. It's not the end of the world, because we saw that against Vegas in the Western Conference Final. But at the same time, I just think it's important that the Jets, come out and play that same game, like you said.
Big opportunity. It's a big opportunity for them. I mean, you got it. You need to take advantage of the situation, and I think it's far more important for the Jets to win this game than it is for Montreal, because I said there's you don't want to say that as that built-in excuse, but it takes 4 to win, and I don't think Montreal will feel defeated at all if they lose this one game tonight, considering the situation they're in coming into this.
And you don't want to keep their momentum going, right? I mean, they're still just 48 hours removed from winning Game 7 and having all that. You need to kind of take that from them, right? You got to take that momentum.
Billeck, you mentioned the healthcare workers and the fans. This is just a quick non-hockey take, but if we ever needed to learn how people have turned into literally professional complainers online during all of this that we've been through, the fact that some people are bitching about 500 healthcare workers is almost inconceivable to me. And yet there they were. And some of the real professional complainers were proactively complaining about something before it was even announced, and they didn't even know what they were complaining about.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's a touchy subject, because the messaging from the province hasn't been great during this pandemic in terms of public health orders, right? And so now you're seeing. But here's the thing.
What does that have to do with anything?
I think that's the problem, right? Like, I think there's 2 separate things here that get intertwined, and it becomes a bigger issue than it is. I think 500 fully vaccinated healthcare workers who have busted their ass for the last 15 months, risking their own lives to help save ours.
15,000 doubly vaccinated healthcare workers.
I mean, it's just such a it's a touchy subject, right? We're all been through this for 15 months. It's been hell on earth for a lot of people. It sucked. You have to stay home. You don't get to see people. I mean, everybody just wants the same thing, right? Everybody just wants this to go away. And I think there's just, it eventually turns to a bit of jealousy. I think there's also part of it too, where it's, again, I think it does tie into some of the messaging from the province that hasn't been consistent over time. There's just a lot of things that go into it. I tweeted out last night, you can blame the province for all that stuff, but don't blame the healthcare workers, right? Don't make them feel guilty about being allowed in.
It's outrageous. It is
Yeah,
outrageous.
I mean,
as I said, I don't want to get into all of this, but I just wanted to bring that up and that, like, come on, everyone. If you're one of these people that's like bent out of shape about this, folks, learn to pick your battles. I mean, there's some that are worth it. This ain't it. This ain't it. Back to the game tonight, though, Scott. Who do you think, as far as, we focus on Connor Hellebuck and Josh Morrissey in the top line of the Winnipeg Jets. Is there a player or two that might be a more unsung Winnipeg Jet that you think not only will, but needs to have a big series and a big start tonight?
Well, I mean, the easy one would be Pierre-Luc Dubois, but we also know that the Jets can win without him being at his top level. I do think that eventually he's going to have to figure it out. Here's the team that he can do it against. Essentially a hometown team, right? This guy's from Quebec. Maybe that this is the series where he kind of sorts it out. I don't know. I think Logan Stanley is one. I mean, there's not a lot of pressure on Logan Stanley, given that he's the rookie on this team. But I think his presence, his physical presence, I think a lot of the good things that he did against Edmonton are only going to be amplified now because of the fact that, well, here's a guy who went against two of the best players. I mean, he didn't play all of his minutes against Connor McDavid and that, but when they did, I mean, this guy, he stood his ground. I remember the first game of this regular season, Logan Stanley comes in against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and everybody's like, oh, he'll never be able to keep up with Austin Matthews, or Mitch Marner or whoever. And it turned out to be the fact that Logan Stanley is probably one of the Jets' better defensemen at this point. Like, I would suggest he's right up there with some of the other guys in terms of his effectiveness in the role that he's playing right now. I thought that third pairing was really good in that Edmonton series, and something the Jets can probably now lean on a little bit more. But I think they need Adam Lowry to do what he continued to do, physical presence, right? I think Matthew Pro needs to again be that net presence, that repest, So yeah.
Yeah, I think Dubois and Perreault, particularly being the the guys from Quebec, they always seem to get up for that game. But you mentioned the Lowry line, and even though we didn't see it until the second half of Game 3, we assumed that at full health the Lowry line would be given that top opposition line. Paul Maurice is going to have the last change tonight. How do you see him? Do you think that there's any preferred matchups for him right now? Will he just, roll out best on best and have Scheifele go at Danault? Or who do they put Lowry? What's the Lowry assignment if you're Coach Paul Maurice?
Probably Josh Anderson line, maybe. I mean, it just depends on. I think their lines are staying the same, and I can't remember where Anderson was pitted on.
He's with Kotkaniemi and Byron. I mean, essentially, and I'll read this out for people that are listening on the podcast. We've got Danault with Jake Evans and Brendan Gallagher, Nick Suzuki with Caulfield and Toffoli. Yeah. Probably their most, talented offensive line.
Yeah, I could see that line too then. Yeah.
Yeah, Byron, Kotkaniemi, and Anderson. And then a fourth line of Perry, Stahl, and Armia. And the one thing that's interesting, we talked about how, confident Maurice was in the fourth line and the way he played them in the series against Edmonton. I would say, at least on paper, Scott, this looks to be a matchup of both teams where I don't think we'll see as many top-heavy minutes, a big difference between the top and certainly the third lines. And I think both fourth lines are going to get significant ice time.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see, I mean, to not really answer your question, I'm not entirely sure how Maurice, because Maurice talked about this a little bit yesterday, I believe it was. It's not a series as much about line matching as it is, about probably feel, right? Like, what does a certain game demand out of certain lines and that sort of thing. So obviously the Nick Suzuki line is a dangerous line, but I also think that's dangerous too. I mean, Eric Staal and Corey Perry are both Stanley Cup winners. So let's not forget that as well. Josh Anderson is a big kind of bruising power forward when he wants to be. So it'd be interesting. I think these two games are going to be, feeling out a little bit. Well, at least the first game at least is going to be a bit of a feeling out process because, these lines are now, they both both teams kind of have this forward makeup where, they can run 4 lines, right? So you can almost just kind of roll the lines and see how it works. I think the Winnipeg's fourth line can be a formidable, line in this series as well because of how well they checked in the first game. I mean, in the first series in the series against Edmonton. So, yeah, I think it's I'm interested to see what it is because I don't exactly know at this point. Based on what Paul Maurice has said, it doesn't seem like they'll focus too much on it right away, but we'll see. I'm thinking that there's more of a chess match, right? I mean, there was a chess match in the first, in the first round. It kind of switched halfway through game 3 because the Jets had to figure out more offense. I don't think that's going to be the same thing. I don't think it's more trying to limit the offense this way in the same way you did against Edmonton. Yeah. I think it's a lot different in this series. So I think you might be able to open up the taps a little bit more, right?
Well, and that is, and we'll see. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see the matchups and how this game number 1 develops because, I mean, the biggest difference, in addition to style of play is the fact, there's no McDavid or there's no Draisaitl on the Montreal Canadiens, but we just talked about that fourth line. I mean, you stack those up and they're a balanced squad with guys that can do stuff on all 4 lines. And, it'll be a challenge for all the Jet lines, both, in their own end first, to get that puck and hopefully spend a little bit more time in front of Carey Price. On the way out, have you made any public declarations of hot take predictions yet for this series, Scott?
I have. I was on Kenny and Rennie yesterday for their post game or their preview or their second round playoff preview. I have them at the Jets winning actually 4-2 in the series in 6 games. Part of this is learning from the first round. I mean, I don't think anybody really picked. Some people did obviously, but nobody really picked Winnipeg to win in the fashion that they did. But for me, it was always about they did all this talking heading into the playoffs. Go ahead and prove it. Well, they did. So I'm not betting against the Jets this time. I think I know the regular season games, there was 6-3 record for the Jets. They were closer games because 3 of those games were won in overtime. But I just think the Jets have an advantage. And I think part of that is in goal. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I think they just have a more offensive lineup and those taps will be opened a little bit more in this series. And I think the fatigue factor is going to play a part. I just think that when you're playing another 4 games in 6 to 7 game series, I think that's a part of it. I mean, this is a Montreal team that isn't a hardened playoff team. I think the Jets have experience going into this round that they have from the last few years. And I think that, Connor Hellebuck, again, just going back to him, he has a point to prove and he wants to prove it. And we saw that in the first round. And I think, Carey Price is an unbelievable goalie, a Hart winner 5 years ago or 6 years ago now, I believe it was. But at the same time, I think Connor Hellebuck just has the edge. That mental edge is there for him. You're seeing him playing his game, that big, boring style. But he's just locked in right now. And so, I got the Jets winning in 6.
Yeah, I don't think that Hellebuck isn't, absolutely looking forward to one of the great challenges of his career going up against Carey Price in a 7-game series. Scotty, great stuff. What do you have cooking in the sun over the course of the next couple days in the series?
Yeah, we're going to see. It's been a lot of news, obviously, for me with COVID lately, but hopefully some good analysis coming up after games 1 and 2 as I hoping to get more time to cover a little bit more Jets here as it kind of goes on in the playoffs. So, hopefully a few stories. I got a couple that in my mind that I'm thinking about, but no spoilers yet.
Well, hopefully a nice big report on a Game 1 win tonight in tomorrow's Winnipeg Sun. I think we'll all take that. Scotty, thanks so much for doing this. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you joining us and enjoy the series. Can't wait for puck drop tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Huss. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. There he is, Scott Billeck. I'm sure you're already following him already, but if you're not, at Scott Billeck, and you can check out his work. covering the Jets, and of course also being a go-to guy on all things COVID for the Winnipeg Sun. He's at Scott Billeck on Twitter. All right, we got to get to lines for tonight. We've got some picks for the races. We also have to, we're going to do a Nick and Nikki DQ cake, and we're going to figure out, I think we might do a draft lottery style contest. We'll get to Remis in just a second. But before we do that, big thanks to our brew sponsor. The official beer of Winnipeg Sports Talk is Little Brown Jug, an incredible local brewery cranking out some of the best beers you'll find anywhere, including the brand new Summer Lager. And, sorry, I guess I should get that there. Summer Lager. And the Hefeweizen, as we've said before. Now, the 1919, my personal favorite. I think I'll have a couple 1919s tonight for the game. But right now, with the heat coming, the easiest thing for you to do is go on to littlebrownjug.ca. They've relaunched the website. It's easier than ever to buy beer, and they'll deliver it right to your home. So get there right now, littlebrownjug.ca. It's 30 plus for the next 5-6 days. You're definitely going to need to be hydrated, and I don't think there's a better hydration around than Little Brown Jug. Big thanks to the LBJ gang for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And of course, Assiniboia Downs. We will get to the results from last night's bets between the duel at the Downs between myself and Michael Remis. We'll have a couple more picks coming up in just a couple minutes, but don't forget the Parade to Post goes at 7:20 tonight. Live racing, you can check it all at hpibet.com. Bet both our track and tracks around the world simply from your computer. And I know Remo and I were watching some of the races last night. They've got a great YouTube coverage as well, or you can get the races live right on the HPI Bet site. So hpibet.com, Assiniboia Downs, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday live racing all season long. And of course, our friends at Aikens Lake, talking to Pit Terrain out at Aikens due to the health regulations. They're shut down right now until June 12th. Hopefully get right back on the water after that. If you are looking for an incredible vacation to a world-class fly-in fishing lodge close to Winnipeg on the water in about an hour and a half, Aikens Lake is the place you're going to want to see. You can see some incredible pictures of Aikens in the screen if you're watching live on the video feed. AikensLake.com, at Aikens Lake on Twitter. Hopefully we'll see you out there at some point this summer. All right, great stuff with Dale Weise, Scott Billeck. We are counting down to puck drop tonight between the Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens. And Michael Remis, it does seem that, like last week when we were invaded by a number of Leaf fans, the Habs fans are stepping up and representing their club. And I would expect no different when you have these two final teams standing, looking for bragging rights as to who are the top dogs in Canada.
Yes, Montreal, very historic franchise, and a lot of fans. And even when you see Montreal come to Winnipeg, I think it's like half Habs fans. It always blows me away.
Drives me so crazy.
Yeah, so of course they're all in chat. To be honest, it's been pretty civil. I don't have anyone hurling insults to each other, mostly.
Nice, thank you. Well done,
yeah.
Habs fans. Well done, Jets fans. That's the way we want to do it here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And by the way, speaking of the chat, look who's back today. Shout out to the Russian contingent, Nikolai Baranov. Nikolai, great to see you. Great to see you. And again, we nailed that. I touched up on some of my Cyrillic last night, Reem, after the show when I learned in Intro to Russian at the University of Manitoba.
I will still have to clip that segment yesterday where you spoke in Russian. I know the people out there on Twitter need to see that. It needs to get out there, but it's awesome. Yeah, what are you saying in there?
I'd say there's also something in the chat that we need to bring up right now, and I do not want to be fake news guy. This is not blue check mark. I do not know. I have no details on this, but I am seeing that Michael Young says that Skip has jet dogs from Bell MTS Place.
Oh, I saw tonight.
That. Have we confirmed that? Is that true?
I haven't confirmed. Do you want me to try right now? Here.
Well, I mean, I don't think you'd probably order it. I doubt they're open yet for the Skip dogs. But anyways, if you have information on the availability of the jet dog on Skip the Dishes, but Split says I think that's true going forward. I would actually consider. I'm missing the arena that much and being able to be there with the fans. I would actually consider ordering a jet dog on Skip the Dishes. One of the most elite concession items in the league, period.
I would do it just to take a picture and put it on social media. Got to get those likes, whatever way you can. Got to celebrate the game. So sure, Jet Dog. Although I just cleaned my barbecue on the weekend. I could be in for just making a home style Jet Dog with a couple of LBJs.
You know what? Here, I've got a quick history lesson for you all about. It's a hot dog and hockey related, and it goes to the history of the Jet Dog. So the Jet Dog was the toasted moose dog when the Moose came in after, obviously, the Jets left. And if you recall back in Jets 1.0 era, in the Winnipeg Arena, I believe outside North End, section 3, 4, 5, there was the spot there where you would get, there was only one spot in the arena you could do them, the toasted dogs. And they were smaller hot dogs, but they were buttered on both sides. They had a special bun. They would grill them, and that became the genesis for the big moose dog, which became the big Jet Dog. What I didn't know, and I had heard about this, is those dogs that we made here in Winnipeg were a takeoff of the chien chaud, which I believe is French for hot dog, famous at Le Colisée and in Montreal. And when I did go to the Bell Center, I took down a couple of those, as my buddy Rob Drager, who was with me at the game, called them Little Beauties. Certainly not as big as the Jet Dog, but if you're ever going to the Bell Center, I'm sure any Habs fans that are with us in the chat right now will agree. While not as big as the monster jumbo Jet Dog themselves, the original toasted dog, I believe, came from Quebec. They're still served today, and they are amazing. How about that history lesson, Reem?
That was a really good history lesson. So love a good hot dog. So, and I have
hashtag our dogs are better. Like
we
that
had
one, Joe.
We did have Jamie McLennan on a couple weeks ago, and I know he's one when he was backing up in Montreal. He would be looking forward to the popcorn and hot dogs while he was sitting at his post, possibly waiting for a chance to get into the game.
If anybody actually does order a Jet Dog on Skip, take a pic and tweet us tonight at Sports Talk Winnipeg, at Hustlerama, at M. Remis. I might do it as well. Listen, I know it's probably not cheap, but listen, think of how much money we're all saving off tickets through this playoff run. We'd all be broke by now, or at least certainly if you can win a few more games. So anyways, yes, Franco, the chien chaud toasté. That's exactly it. The toasted hot dog from Quebec and Le Montreal Canadiens. All right, Remo, before we'll get to the lines for tonight's games in a minute, let's quickly get to our picks for Assiniboia Downs. And you whiffed last night, I do believe. I split my bets out, won my first one, but did not win the rest. So I was close to maybe just a little bit negative. But we got to get some wins tonight. And because of the timing of the game, of course, they'll go to post at 7:20, first race right around 7:30, 7:35. I've strategically placed my wagers today, Remo, in the duel at the Downs in race 6 and race 7. So unless we go to a long overtime, the game will be finished. We can listen to some post-game coverage on OB, check out the IC guys, and watch the races so as to not miss anything when we're going on the game. So I'm in on race 6 and 7. How are you handling tonight's action?
Yeah, I was in race 5 and 7, so I think 5 might have a chance to be going on after the game. We'll wait and see. Last night I was on horse American League, and he got off to a good start, was in there, but halfway through he totally died. I watched it on the Assiniboia Downs. Not died. He fell off. I don't want to. They didn't have to euthanize him on the chat. Yeah, poor choice of words there. But he kind of fell off, so he moved to the back of the pack. So I didn't win there. So I've kind of diversified tonight. I've been doing the $20 on one horse. I do have 2 bets tonight, a $15 bet and a $5 bet. So if you want to go first, I can bring up the video here.
All right, I will. And last night, my first bet on Thin Line did come in. He won. The other ones did not. So I'm taking it. I'm splitting it over 3 bets. As I mentioned, we're waiting until race 6 to get going to give us plenty of time to finish the hockey game. And I could not jump on a horse named City Champ. So City Champ is getting half the bankroll today. $10 on City Champ to win in race 6. And then for race 7, I'm going with $5 on number 8, Empirical Data, to win the race. And I'm putting my other 5 on an 8-5 Quinella. So hopefully can win both of those if Empirical Data wins and number 5 comes in second. So there you go. It's number 7 City Champ in race 6. a number 8 empirical data in race 7, and an 8-5 Quinella. What do you got, Reem?
Yeah, I'm going with race 5. I got a Quinella 3 and 5, so those horses need to finish first and second in any order. I like Shootin' Money and Mr. Dazzle. That's in race 5. I got 15 on those. And
Shootin'
race
Money.
7, we don't really talk about what we're going to do, but when you told me you had race 7, $5 and number 8 to win, I was like, hey, I have that pick too. Maybe we're getting our info from the same place. That is empirical data. Love stats. So I'm going with empirical data. You got to use those analytics for the horse racing has to make your pick. So that is what I'm on.
Not planned. Obviously, I hope we both win.
Not planned.
And I hope number 5 comes in second. So it ends up being like a double win for me and only a single win for you. Remis still has the lead. We'll update it weekly throughout the season. But those are our picks tonight for Assiniboia Downs. Check it out at hpibet.com. And as always, you can follow there or on the Assiniboia Downs YouTube site at Assiniboia Downs. All right, Coolbet Lines. Let's get to them. National Hockey League series lines as well available. But for tonight's game, we have the Montreal Canadiens at Winnipeg Jets. Jets coming off this 9-day break. Habs coming off a thrilling 7-game comeback upset of the Maple Leafs. And the Habs tonight, having played so much more hockey, a little bit more of an underdog tonight than they are in the series. Plus 124 on the road. Jets, home favorite, minus 141. The total on the game is 5.5. Over is plus 121. Under minus 137. And the puck line, if you do like the Jets to win by 2, you can get just about 2-1 plus 197 on Jets puck line minus 1.5. Other game tonight is a late game, 9 o'clock it'll start. Perfect timing for you hockey fans, doubling it up. It's Vegas Golden Knights, Colorado Avalanche. No surprise after the mauling that the Avs laid on the Knights in game number 1 that they're a heavy favorite again tonight. Minus 196 at Coolbet and plus 173 for the Vegas Golden Knights. I will also give you an update on the Winnipeg Montreal series price. As we mentioned, this opened up at minus 114. I know a lot of you jumped on the Winnipeg Jets at that number. It went to minus 120 yesterday. It's now minus 127. And that was sort of, we figured that the line would end up probably between minus 120 and minus 125. A little bit more on the Jets. And that is bad news for Coolbet if the Jets do keep winning, Remis, because as we mentioned, Chris Abbott came on the program a week or two ago and let us know that of any team in the National Hockey League heading into the playoffs, by far the biggest liability for the book was if the Winnipeg Jets go on a big run and win it. And it's the same thing for this series. Saw upwards of 90% of the bets on the Winnipeg side of things, which, to be honest, scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, and I agree. When you hear, people are that big of a favorite, you do kind of turn your ears. They perk up a bit. The Jets are the favorite. What is minus 127 to win the series? I guess a lot of people seeing the value. I think, their number probably went down after that losing streak, but those who do subscribe to to analytics say, you know what, this isn't the real Jets team, and they definitely proved that in the first round. So I think they were just a value pick going in. We talked with digital gambler Andy McNeil before the start of the playoffs. He said he was in on the Jets. So we'll see how it goes against Montreal, but maybe the value has now switched to Montreal, where maybe early on, if you got in there right when it was announced, the Jets were a nice price. But I would probably still go with the Jets here.
Oh, man. Listen, great stuff in the chat today. Let's get some predictions here. Jets fans, Habs fans, everybody here. Predictions for game 1 tonight. And if you want to put a prediction in for the series as well, we'll be able to go back and watch the chat and see which one of you were geniuses beforehand. I'm feeling good about the Jets' chances, but I think this is going to be a very tough, hard-fought series that at times might not look beautiful, but it will be what playoff hockey is all about. And I just think the way the Jets played, the way they rose to the occasion in the big moments in the first round, I think really puts them in a good place going into this game. But to be honest, you can say the exact same thing about the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, they were left for dead, and they came out period 1 of game 5 and said, you have to beat us to get us out. And that Maple Leafs were never able to rise to that level. in the final 3 games, and yet here we are, Winnipeg and Montreal. This is going to be a great series, Reem, and again, we've said this before, very happy that there'll be 500 of the healthcare heroes that have been helping us get through this pandemic that'll be in the building, but really the only thing that's missing is a full house, white-clad fans, and for the time being, the whiteout will take place in your household with only members of your household.
Yes, of course. I am enjoying we've seen some social media videos of fans dancing. I know the Jets have asked fans to send in videos that they're going to be playing, or they did it in the first round. They're going to be playing on the, on the walls as the players come out. They've talked so much about how they missed that atmosphere, and how could you not? So we hope to get back there soon, not tonight, but 500 fans. I'm curious how it's going to be. Scott said, that they were going to have an impact. I was like, I don't know, 500, but I think it's more than you think. So I think it'll definitely be yet another unique atmosphere, and the Jets have done such a great job at dressing up the arena for playoff hockey in white with their new We Are Winnipeg and the towels as well.
Hey, speaking of, do you want to put up that video, speaking of fan videos from Jets fans? I'll give a shout out to Carter Chen, Winnipeg socialite, former reality TV star, or at least that's what it says in Carter's bio online. Carter has continued to make a bunch of funny videos. He had the big heads of Kyle Connor and Blake Wheeler. He's now added a big head of himself into his operation. So he did a fun, like a crisscross jump video today. But the Muffin Man, who is a regular around these Winnipeg Sports Talk streets, sent us a video of his brother, Jordan Melnick. And I will tell you that Jordan did a great job of, encapsulating the fan at home. But even better, he utilized the music, the epic takeoff of Wang Chung's Everybody Have Fun Tonight back in the 80s when the whiteout got started with, I believe the song is called Everybody Shake White Tonight. Remo, give me
Yeah, this is it. Here he is, dancing on TikTok. So we've seen a lot of these. These are pretty funny.
You got to listen to the song here, folks. For all you Wang Chung fans out there.
Are there Wang Chung fans? No way.
Oh, they were big back in the day, Reem.
I got to bring out my pom-poms. I still have those down here. I brought them out before the playoffs started.
Here's the hook.
It's pretty well done.
So, Jordan, very good job. If you want to give Jordan a follow, you can do it at GDM Cometh. And he's got all sorts of stuff. Some great hot takes on the hockey and did the video. So if you have any other fun stuff like that you've done fan-wise, hit us up. We'll have some fun with those throughout the series beginning tonight. And as we mentioned, back to, hockey in this game, talked with Scott about the importance of game one, the opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets in game one, considering what the Habs have gone through over the course of the past week. And, there really won't be a ton of time for rest for the Montreal Canadiens with 4 games in the first 6 nights. So really important for the Jets to take advantage of the rest that they've had, but come out ready to go and really try to assert themselves right from the opening shift tonight.
Okay, well, I'm getting ripped in chat. Apparently, there are people who like Wang Chung, but they have one song. So, but I get you can like that song.
What do you mean they have one song?
They have one song. Aren't they the biggest one-hit wonder?
You probably weren't born then, so you have absolutely no. This is like me giving ballet takes or something like that. Something I know nothing about whatsoever.
They're on all the one-hit wonders lists. Come on, are they not? Do they have any other hits? Do they have any others? I'm looking on it right now.
Yes, they absolutely do.
Have they had
Dance Hall Days? Thank you, Bravo Bry. Dance Hall Days, a huge hit back in the day.
Let's see.
You know what? Maybe I'm gonna get. I'm already. My Hanukkah gift for Remis is gonna be a Wang Chung Greatest Hits compilation next year.
Okay, Dance Hall Days did hit number 5 in Canada. Everybody Have Fun, 1986 at number 1.
Oh, To Live and Die in L.A. 9. Thank you, Chuck. Another great one. To Live and Die in L.A. I think that was on some sort of a movie soundtrack.
That peaked at number 41. I'm more familiar in the Tupac song "To Live and Die in L.A." Is that related?
Exactly.
Do you steal
Exactly.
that?
Basically, a takeoff of Wang Chung. They originated the rap influencers, old school hip hop influencers, Wang Chung.
Yeah, Wang. Okay, so my Wang Chung takes apparently pretty bad.
Yeah, and by the way, Ekran Global mentioning, welcome to you, my friend. The original whiteout video from the 80s that was referencing is available on YouTube. Check it out if for no other reason to check out the haircuts. It was that was our whiteout. That is the beginning, the humble roots of the whiteout here in Winnipeg.
Whoa. Rob Mahoney says, I don't know what a cassette is. Okay, calm down, Rob. I'm well aware. I just sold a couple rock cassette tapes on Facebook Marketplace a couple
I was about to
ago,
say,
so
Rob, you're
calm down.
obviously not on Facebook Marketplace very often because...
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen or held an 8-track, Remis?
8-tracks before my time. I don't think I ever played one.
I think so. What about an album? What about a record?
Oh, I got like a stack of vinyl LPs right beside me.
Oh, wow.
Here,
Hipster vinyl guy? I did not know that.
I was buying vinyl when I was in high school, actually, and the collection's grown. But then I was, after, most recently, when vinyl's taken off, I'm like, why would I take the time to take a record out of the thing, put it on a record player, when I can literally ask my speaker to play any song I want? So I'm kind of out on vinyl now. Like, what's the point? It's too much of a hassle.
Look for a number of records up on Facebook Marketplace very soon under a seller at Remis. Yeah, for sure. Pull them out while you do it. We'll get this. Have a little fun right now. Take our minds off the game for a little bit because there's a lot of nervous energy around the chat.
I got Chinese Democracy on vinyl. I got, Jeff Beck. We got, Led Zeppelin vinyl. See, I got some real vinyls. I got Metallica. Oh, this one's autographed.
What?
We got...
hold on a second. Autograph Metallica Ride the Lightning?
Yeah. I can show the picture of me meeting them. You want me to pull it up?
Well, no, let's keep going through these records. We don't want to,
what else do we got here?
ADD
time.
here.
We got show and tell. Oh, Billy Idol. Rebel Yell. That's a classic. Hey,
all-time classic, for sure.
Oh, Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. Come on, this is a legendary record.
It's not just Slippery When Wet. It's Slippery When Wet on vinyl.
On vinyl. Oh, and I got Wanted Dead or Alive, this 12-inch single. Okay.
People are loving this in the chat right now.
Poison.
Open up and say, Does that one have Unskinny Bop on it?
I think so. This is one with the good cover. I think they had one after this that didn't have this controversial cover. They had to re-release it. This was too much. People couldn't handle this in 1980s.
What, were they biting Gene Simmons' shtick with the 1-foot-long tongue?
Here. This is the back. The back of this is like you just don't see this kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah, you don't. You really don't.
What else do you got here? This is a Jesus Christ Post Soundgarden. There we go. I just pulled up a stack. Party at everyone says Bon Jovi. I didn't actually go to Bon Jovi when he came here at the stadium that time. I regret it. I got U2. See, I got vinyls, Huss. Come on, I'm on Discogs.
This is a good one. And a little VH.
I think this is 5150.
That was the start of the Sammy era.
Yeah, I actually love Sammy Hagar. I think I'm a big Hagar guy compared to David Lee Roth.
Well, what an exhilarating end to the program. Now, do we want to let's do a DQ cake for Nick? Do we want to do this as in the draft lottery, or do we want to do the wheel, or do we want to do marbles? You're the CTO. You decide.
Well, did you want to do the draft lottery? Was that OU 8112? I don't know which one that was.
Yeah, OU 812, or maybe it was. I'm not sure.
I don't remember. Do we want to do marbles, or do you want to do draft? You can increasing value putting them on the pod. Yeah, because as mentioned on Winnipeg Sports Talk, this vinyl edition. I don't care. Now shows my. I don't have.
Everyone wants marbles. Everybody wants marbles.
Everyone wants it. Okay.
Everyone wants
hopefully
marbles.
Doesn't break my computer. Okay, we can take a list.
Hopefully it won't. Remo, you get it up. Do you want me to just read you out some of these names of the people that are in with us?
Let me just open it first. I need to update marbles. Hopefully it doesn't affect this stream. I remember one time I was downloading something. Like my wife goes to watch Netflix and all of a sudden you're blurry. So
Yeah.
it's got to update. It's got to update.
You gotta listen to it. Yeah, everyone is definitely in on the Remis making me miss wedding socials. Shark Mifley, you don't tell. By the way, Shark Mifley, your Instagram game is on fire right now. I'm loving the posts. There's a plug for one of our regs, Shark Mifley. I believe the Instagram is the exact same as his YouTube handle with us in the chat. Some absolutely hilarious posts all around the Jets and the Stanley Cup playoffs for the most part. So what's the final verdict? Are we going to take a chance on marbles here, or?
I got to update it, so it says it's complete, but we'll give me a sec.
I see. So, we're just doing the update. Well, that
it's downloading right now. It says it's 100%, but I don't know if I can run it yet. So.
Hey, one thing that I should mention, because we've been talking hockey all day long, when Reem is, he figures out this marbles thing. Last night in the NBA, Reem, did you happen to see any of the end of that Portland-Denver game? Dame Lillard, 55
yeah, I know
points, 12 three-pointers. They were down 8 with like a minute and a half left in the first overtime. And it was one of the most ridiculous, incredible performances I've ever seen. And it still wasn't enough as the Joker, Nikolai Jokic. And this was all happening in Game 5 of a series tied 2-2. It was incredible. And you know what? Even though the Blazers lost, there wasn't a lot of people talking about Denver and winning the third game. It was all about one of the most absolutely ridiculous individual performances I can remember seeing in a long, long time.
Yeah, also, don't forget the Lakers going down 3-2 to the Suns. We will wait and see. My Marble app doesn't want to go, so I don't know.
All right, well, we may have to do a wheel then.
Okay, you know how games are these days, Huss, where you used to go buy a game, you put the CD in, and it's good to go. Now it's like you gotta get updates. Yeah, my computer, it's not working right now. I did something.
You gotta load it. Okay, what about the wheel? I'll fire you some names for Wheel of
Fire me
Fortune.
some names. We can spin the wheel of names, sure.
Okay, folks, we'll put off the marble race till tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah.
And again,
We'll have
if
to do
you
it Friday.
win, you got to be in Winnipeg to pick up from one of the 4 Nick and Nicky DQs. Okay, let's go. Bravo, Bry.
Okay, one sec. It still has the list of names from last time. So here we go. Bravo, Bry. Okay.
Laurent Gratton.
Yeah.
Motown Mitch.
Go. Yeah.
Tyson
Yeah.
D. Tristan Rivers Music.
Yeah.
Jeff Kabilis.
Yeah, just showed him out fast.
Larry Eloy.
Yeah.
Leslie M.
Yeah.
James Robinson.
Yeah.
Miller Time 1980. Jets 281 last time, so you're timed out. Cat B, who loves your record collection, Michael.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely. And I'll put increased odds for Cat B. No, I don't think I can do that.
Dino Apostolopoulos nailed that name. I hope you're in Winnipeg because you're in if you win. Mitch Z is with us.
Yeah.
Dennis Ferreira.
Yeah.
Rachel Richards.
Yeah.
T. Conapoli. Rob Mahoney. Chris Beck. Sheila Schlepp. Al Broderick.
In the comments. Yeah.
And we'll go Bus Split and Shark Mifley. Or yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay, there's a bunch
Shark
of names.
Mifley, yeah. We got
If we
22
didn't get you
names.
in, we'll have a much bigger run for the marbles. All right, this is going to be for one of the DQ cakes. Once you win, hit us up send us a DM on Twitter because we can't message you through YouTube to get you to click it up. All right. We're a marbles team here, but today it's going to have to be the Wheel of Fortune. And who will the Winnipeg Sports Talk Wheel of Fortune end up on? CTO, you can take it away, introduce this. Oh, it looks very, very good. Everyone's name's there, and we're simply going to spin it, and whoever comes through, we're going to hook you up with a delicious ice cream cake from our friends at the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Niverville, Northgate, St. Anne's, or DQ Polo Park. Take it away, Reem.
Okay, I'm going to click the button, and we're going to see who it lands on. Are you ready? You want to do like a countdown?
3, 2, 1, spin to win.
Oh, Tico Napoli.
Tico Napoli, nice. Very close for Rachel Richards. We just missed you. Tico Napoli, first ever time winner, always with us here on the chat. Great stuff. Tico Napoli, hit us up with an Insta, either a direct message on Insta or Twitter, and we will make sure we get you hooked up with Nick and Nikki DQ. Well, listen, we did them all through the first round on game days, and the Jets kept winning. I wore the 4-0 blue Q-zip for good karma, and now we've given away another cake. Tico Napoli, you can have that with the family on the weekend for game 2, as it's so darn hot. Man, great show, Remo. Thanks to everyone that's been with us, even as we kind of get through this nervous energy at the end of the podcast. Still over 500 people with us live in the chat. Just goes to show how much excitement there is. And to be honest, Reem, I have a feeling how little work is getting done by a lot of people as they just literally stare at the clock or hang out with us till we drop the puck tonight.
I saw some people commenting in chat that, they'll catch us later on the podcast. We're on all the platforms because they were at work and couldn't getting a lot done. I know a lot of people listen on the podcast, whether it's after the show or, the morning after, maybe on their drive to work. So we are on all the podcast platforms. So we couldn't do a marble race today. Friday, we will definitely do it. I'll make sure my computer is updated and ready to go. It's that damn updates they just make you do them, and oh well. So I'll have to do some troubleshooting.
Tico Napoli, great tip from former winner Gregory Liverpool. Make sure you pick up the cake early in the morning or late in the evening. That might melt during the day. Either that or get some good great tip from Greg, the sheriff, if you will.
Bring a cooler.
Bring a cooler.
I almost
one
brought
of those
one.
Bags. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you've had one, do it. But anyways, congratulations to Tico Napoli. Enjoy that Jets cake for a playoff game with the family. And Remo, I think all that's left to do is get ready for tonight's game. I will actually be jumping on with the guys on Sportsnet 960 in Calgary at 4 o'clock our time, and then on with Dale Weise at about 5:30 before the game. And of course, afterwards, the Kelly Moore and the CJOB crew will be breaking down everything with reaction on the radio side of things. IC, Kenny, and Rennie will be doing their thing after the game as well. And Remo will be back tomorrow. We've got a couple big guests. Ken of Kenny and Rennie, as well as the one and only JR coming in the house tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have on Jeremy Roenick. Shout out to Sean Machado, who helped us. I don't know if
best story.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, Huss. It was a couple years ago. JR was in Winnipeg with NBC and did a feature where some Jets fans dressed him up for the whiteout. Well, Sean was one of those Jets fans who dressed up JR, and him and JR have stayed in touch. So shout out to Sean, who asked JR if he would come on and then gave me his number. So JR, he's coming on, so I'm looking forward to see what's going on with him these days.
It is not only is it awesome that he's going to come on and talk some puck with us, but the fact that Sean, being part of our Winnipeg Sports Talk crew, went out and made it happen for us is even better. You get the gold star today, Sean. May all your bets on tonight's game come through. Hopefully you've got the Jets on the puck line and are very, very happy. I can't wait for this game tonight. Can't wait to get this series on. The wait is just about over, folks. Tomorrow we'll break it all down with Ken Wiebe. Jeremy Roenick's going to join the program and head right into another game day show on Friday. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Thanks again to PolicyMe.com, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Not AutoCorp, Little Brown Jug, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend Country Club, Nick and Nikki DQ Group, Coolbet.com, and of course, Aikens Lake. Folks, enjoy the game tonight. Should be a good one. It is just about time. The wait's almost over. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. And by the way, if you're new here, make sure to hit that red subscribe button before you leave. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening, and enjoy tonight's Game 1 between the Jets and Habs.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.